That's the wonderful Megan McDonough who blessed us last night as part of our 30th anniversary gala with her beautiful, beautiful music. And we'll hear a little more from her, and her CDs are available outside after the service. Thank you, Megan. Thank you for reminding us that we got to put our foot in the water. So everybody take your foot, right or left, your choice. Put it in the water. All right, good. I'm not there by myself anymore. This morning we are celebrating our 30 years. And so the way I want to talk about that this morning in a spiritual context is to remind us that, as I was reminded by our licensed Unity teacher, Bill Sunderman, last night, that when this property was purchased, this building was a garage. And he said to me, Jennifer, ministers are spiritual mechanics. I was like, I don't know about that. He said, think about it. Just like you take your car to get a tune-up, we bring the awareness of our spiritual essence to this community, to this place, to this building, to the experience not only of each other, but to the experience of that which is within, whether it's Sunday morning, Wednesday night, or a class. I'm like, yes. We began right here in the garage. I think we're revved up and running pretty well. What do you think? Can I hear a vroom vroom? Just a little bit of vroom vroom? I know there's more than just my husband out there who has motorcycle envy. Can I hear a vroom vroom? There we go. All right. This morning, as we look at this idea of 30 years, I want to put the context of three basic ideas. That in 30 years, we've been waking up, we've been growing up, and yes, we're cleaning up. And so to outline that just briefly, waking up is this idea that exists in the Eastern traditions from which Unity has taken much of its contemplative practice. That idea that waking up means that we have an experience in life where, let's just say it's a conversion, okay? In waking up, we have a conversion where we come to an awareness of something new. And then there's a purification, where we must let go of that which we thought we understood. From that purification, yes, I know, honey, sometimes it's tricky. But at the other end of the purification is illumination. And then the piece they don't tell you, there's the dark night of the soul, where there's great value to have a partner or a community in partnership to lean on, to go to rest in. For what we truly know as community, as we can support each other, is that as we come through that dark night of the soul, at that end, there is a resurrection. There is a newness. And so these 4 or 5 stages are the waking up Eastern tradition that is found in all Eastern traditions. Now, in our Western world, and we are more of a Western tradition religion, we are growing up. That growing up has to do with the idea of structures or lenses with which we see the experience happening. For example, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We all know that we need the physical needs met. The physical needs for ourselves, physical needs met for a community. And then we can have the experience where we begin to wake up. For you see, there's ways in which waking up and growing up work together, and there are ways in which we must separate the waking up and the growing up. And it's a continuous practice. We're always having elements of ourselves waking up and elements of ourselves growing up. Catherine Sunderman's going to come and share one of those stories of how we've been waking up and growing up.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Where's Maggie? Hey, Maggie. We were here, weren't we? On the stage, too short.
There you go, woman of power.
We have our dark moments, too. Doesn't make us exempt, I'm here to tell you. How many people were here last night? All right, then I'll try not to repeat too much. Yes, I remember this part of the building very well. I have stuff in the walls, and I'm so happy that today I'm going to put stuff on the outside of the wall. I also have stuff on that part of the building, too, because it wasn't there when we moved into this part. And that was after the piano, as you all know, or many of you know, got taken away from us in the middle of a service. Was that negative? No. It gave us the power. We got the power together real fast to get ourselves together with the help of Alan Quay, who was a specialist in getting things like real estate together. And he kept doing that over the years. And I was on the committee that bought this parking lot back here. It belonged to the people who lived there, and they didn't need it anymore. So he was a nice gentleman. And then John Brown, who I wish was here today, who wishes you all well, was the realtor who helped us buy the property. I have no idea what it cost. I wasn't thinking about that part. That was Alan's concern, and he did a real good job at it. With all that building, we tripled the size of this building in a very short time. And then after this building was built, we needed a window for the foyer. And so a group of us got together. I was a person who had done stained glass, but nothing ever that big. And so as a result, a few years later, they had to reinforce it. But by that time, I had gone to Frederick because Alan thought there needed to be a church in Frederick. And so I said, okay. And so that's what I did. I want to tell you one thing about that stained glass window. The person who had Vera's job designed that window. And she didn't know about stained glass, so the design didn't fit what stained glass could do. So I altered it just a little bit because it was a beautiful concept. I thought, don't you all think that's a beautiful concept of that window out there? Yeah. Now, I don't know if her picture, she also painted a picture that was right in the lobby, too. I don't know if that's still there on the wall. I wanted to check that this morning, and I forgot. So, it seems to me that the energy that was gotten from the piano going out told us that what we have to do as people who believe in unity, who believe in loving each other no matter what, it gave us the energy to own unity, to own this place, and keep it going together with your love and your money, because the love doesn't pay the bills. It's sweet, however. And so that was the one thing that I wanted to say, that everybody got together and did everything that they possibly could to make this happen. And I know that that continues today. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Catherine has served this church in many, many ways, including being part of the transitional ministry team several years ago, and she continues to bless us and bless the Unity movement. So thank you very much. So we're waking up and we're growing up. One of the things I believe that as we are continuing to grow up as a 30-plus year-old organization is that there's some basic skills like, well, you know, growing up is the idea of looking at the structures or the lenses with which we experience life. And so multiple intelligences, you know, the emotional intelligence, the interpersonal, the intrapersonal intelligence, musical intelligence, all those wonderful things. Some of those places we still get to grow. We still get to shore up, which leads us into the cleanup. Because the cleanup stage says we go back and look at places which are perhaps not as well developed as others. And so some of the skills that I think we get to do as a spiritual community, and these are not new, they're not new ideas, but some of the skills that we get to represence for ourselves and for how we be with each other include things like being patient. Yes, it's not the first time I've spoken about patience from the pulpit, right? There's a beautiful story from Ireland of St. Kevin. St. Kevin, it is said, when he was 7 years old, he went off to the monastery. He'd been a very interesting young boy, both spiritual and yet not very socially adept. So he goes to the monastery, and it's Lent season. And he goes out into the field alone, and he decides he's just going to offer himself. And so as he stands in this position, a blackbird comes and builds a nest in his hand. And he decides that he's going to stay right there. He's just going to stand and be patient. And he stands and he stands, and the blackbird lays eggs, and the eggs hatch, and the new birds fly off. May we be as patient as St. Kevin. May we also remember that it really, 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 at age 30 plus, it's not about us. It is not about us as an individual. We have an individual essence. And in Unity, we talk about identifying less with our personality and more with our individual or our divine nature. So beyond that, as a community, it's about our collective. There was a wonderful man that I grew up with in church, and was privileged to work with him pretty closely when I was 19. Some of you know that I got my church working started in the Baptist church at 19, where I was the senior adult and elementary-aged children ministry intern for a whole summer at 12 weeks. And it was a brand new position, and I got to create it, which is one of my favorite things to do, is go into an organization and create a new job. And Mr. Kavanaugh was in his late 60s, and at that time had been taking care of his wife for quite a while. She had signs of Alzheimer's, as we believed at that time. And as one of those core people in the church, he took me under the wing. And he said, "Jennifer, I want to tell you a story." He said, "You don't know this about me, but before I retired, I sold life insurance." He said, "Let me tell you, knocking on people's doors, cold calling to sell life insurance, that can get pretty discouraging." I thought, yeah, I'm glad that that's your field and I'm here at the church. He said, "But let me tell you," he said, "any day that I became discouraged and I thought I didn't have enough, I couldn't be enough, I couldn't sell enough," he said, "I would drive myself over to this nursing home." It was a nursing home right beside the church. He said, "And I would come in and I would greet the residents. I would sit with them. I would hold their hand. I might sing with them, he said, or I could read to them. He said, and when I would leave an hour later, I would go out and know I could do anything and sell life insurance to anyone. He said, we have so much to be grateful for. We get to remember it's not about ourselves. It's about what we have to give and what we have to offer. And that's part of our growing up. When we have moments when we forget that. Finding ourselves back centered into a place, into an experience, into a moment where we can have that aha. We can remember. It's like when we write a paragraph, we don't think, what are the rules of grammar, right? Do we still write paragraphs? Okay, so when we write a paragraph, we don't think what is the rule of grammar, but we use the rules of grammar, right? So it's the same thing. We give of ourselves because we're in that flow. And that's part of our cleaning up. 2 ideas for you of the future as we launch and take a step into what's next. One is that we get to continue to do physical cleanup. And that means that we as a spiritual community get to own and become even more sustainable. So I have a vision. And this vision came this summer, and it's very, very clear. And it's that we get to create an endowment fund. An endowment fund is one in which the money will not be touched in principal. It will just be the interest. My vision is $3 million. That $3 million endowment will take care of this campus and these buildings. Amen? Amen. An endowment fund that is separate from general operating funds, so that what we can celebrate and what we can know and what we can give on Sunday morning as we tithe is to know that that money is going for programs. It's going to fund the message that we are and the work that we're here to presence in the world. Amen? $3 million endowment fund. And if you're ready to start making a pledge to that endowment fund, please see me today. I'll be serving cake in the room in the education building during potluck. It's carrot cake. It's good. The second thing I'll share with you, as I know we are reaching the top of the hour, is I have a vision that's an energetic vision that came to me this summer. Part of what we are called to do as a spiritual community that's anchored in the 30 years of rich history is that we are here to be that integrated essence of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. In the vision, as I was meditating, I was standing in the parking lot right here. So in my mind's eye, I see myself standing in the parking lot, and the door of this building opens up, and the men of this church walk out one by one and create a circle around me. You got to know, in the moment of this meditation, I'm like, this is a little different than just my imagination, because I don't know where it's going, and I have no intention for it. And as this circle of men comes around me, they began to say one by one, I am the divine masculine. I am here as presence. I am here as power. I am here as protector. And I began to go, oh, how wonderful. The men of the church, and I'm standing at the center of the circle, and immediately I hear, oh, Jennifer, it's not about you. I go, oh, okay, good. What's it about? I was representing every woman in this church, standing at the center of that circle. There's a lot of research and a lot of writing and a lot of conversation in spiritual circles about divine feminine rising. And here's what I'm here to tell you, to believe with you, and to actualize as us, is that it's the divine feminine masculine that comes together just like the waking up and the growing up. We're called to come together. In the words of poet laureate James Dillett Freeman, one step more. A hill is not too hard to climb, taken one step at a time. One step is not too much to take, one try is not too much to make. One step, one try, one song, one smile will shortly stretch into a mile. To reach the goal you started for, take one step more. Take one step more.